So you will find it. You will find it on our website afterwards, and you will find also the previous two recordings of the previous two discussions. So you can, if you missed some of them, you can hear them later. We will have, as I said, we have the guest, Professor Gernot Wolfram. He will have a presentation of around 20 minutes. Afterwards, we will have some 30 minutes for the discussion and maybe some 5 minutes for some concluding remarks. And as I already said, please be active in the chat. Please post questions and comments. Our co-moderators will will collect them. It seems that somebody was saying that there is a problem with the sound. So if it is like that, can this person just type it in the chat so that we will check it? I will wait for a couple of seconds. Mm-hmm. So I will just talk again in order to ask people if they hear me. I'm sorry for this delay now. Okay, so some of you hear us and some of you don't. Henrike, can you maybe check your own audio, your loudspeakers and your sound? Okay, should I then maybe, should I continue? Okay. Okay, as I was saying, so the chat hopefully will be lively. Anyway, I will go back now to our topic of today, creative industries, creativity versus industry. So why this topic? It seems that this notion of creative industries find increasingly important place in economic system of Europe in last decade or more, and it includes also issues such as employment and growing contribution to GDP in many European countries. And it seems that this fact is making creative industries also enter cultural policies on all the levels, from national via regional to local, etc., and also, of course, on supranational level, on the level of European Union. Our basic question is actually, what are the consequences of creative industries entering public cultural policies, and what would be the relationship of creative industries and public funding, maybe now or in future? So this is a really broad topic, and we will start also with defining some of those terms and maybe defining them also for the sake of our discussion, but also in general. And we will also focus or maybe take as a case study the new cultural program of European Commission starting from 2014, which bears the title Creative Europe, which bears some novelties, so to say, in comparison to the earlier issues of the cultural program of European Commission. But further details I will leave, of course, for our presenter, Mr. Gernot Wolfram, professor, who is a cultural scientist scientist, author, and publicist, and since 2009, an expert member of the Team Europe of the European Commission in Brussels, with the core teams intercultural and cultural projects. Since 2006, he works as expert for intercultural communication for the Bundeszentrale für politische Bildung, or Federal Agency for Civic Education in Berlin, and works also as professor for media and arts management at the Makromedia Hochschule für Medienkommunikation in Berlin, and as professor for cultural sciences at the University of Applied Sciences Kufstein in Tyrol. So, Mr. Wolfram, welcome, and please, I would like to give you the word and to start your presentation.
Yeah, Radmila, thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me very fine. So, yeah, good evening from Berlin. I would like to speak a bit about this topic, creative industries, and about the relation between these two terms, creativity versus industry. And perhaps it's very interesting when we look on this debate that we are not starting from today, that we go a bit back in time, because the concept for funding systems in Europe have a very long tradition, and they have a very own and strong concept. So let me very briefly show you this picture. This is a portrait of Philipp Otto Runge from the year 70, or he was born in 1777 and died in the year 1810. And it's a very interesting portrait, I think, to see that we have, since the time of the Enlightenment and later of the period of Romanticism, this idea of independent artists. Yeah, and when we look today on this debate, and when we later will talk about this new program, Creative Europe, which will last from 2014 to 2020, then we see that there is a tremendous change coming, how we look on artists and how we understand in our modern times the role of artists within our society. As I said before, a very traditional concept is this, which was created actually in the time of the Enlightenment, in the period of Romanticism, where art was seen as an expression of inner values, of dreams, of irrational things, and of course, most of all, about things about the individual view of individuals on their life and on aesthetics and on different values they created beyond the economic structures of their time. On the surface, that was their idea. And this was an ongoing, or is an ongoing, very powerful concept, that we have an idea about artists, that they're, let's say, live in a very special area of our society, and that they have special rights, and that they have a special approach to life. And this, of course, affects very much the concepts of funding programs. We will see in which way later. There were always other positions. I just want to mention here very briefly two. The one was mentioned by Abi Warburg, a Jewish cultural scientist who was very much interested in the paintings of the time of the Renaissance. And he said that artists were always connected with the field of economy. And most of the time not in a conscious way, more in an unconscious way. But it's very interesting to see that you can understand the big masterpieces, let's say, at the time of the Renaissance, much better when you know who gave the money, what were which structures were around the artists, so the political, the social, the historical influences, and most of all, how much money did they receive for their work. And there's another more modern scientist, Eric L. Jones. He's very much interested in this relation between economy and culture, and he says it more radically, that every creative process is connected in a way with economic procedures, but very often, this is the interesting point, these connections are hidden or so-called tight-lipped. and this is a more realistic and concept about the relation between the two fields. And when we now look on the concepts, the funding concepts of, let's say, most of the foundations in Europe, as well as the European Union, then we can see that they support until today more this traditional concept. Yeah, they believe that artists need a special space, a special treatment, a special surrounding to develop their ideas, their aesthetic ideas, and to, let's say, develop artistic innovations. And hundreds of foundations are based on this concept. And this, or an important point is here, that the artists shall be free. They shall not reflect all the time where they can get their money for the next rent. And they shall not reveal their problematic economic position. Yeah, then very often, as we know, do artists fulfill certain expectations of funding programs to get the money. It starts with the applications. It starts with special topics you have to check out when you look on funding programs. So, for example, in the field of literature, you have to know when you send your application to certain residencies or write-in residence houses, what they expect or what are topics. So, in a way, artists are forced to look into this direction. But you will find, you can check it out by yourself, you will find on almost every website of foundations that they say, we want to support artists in their own thinking and in their own ideas. And they wouldn't dare to say officially, of course, we have also very clear expectations why we give money and why we support artists. And therefore, is this European concept very often criticized in the United States. So I put here for you this quotation from an American arts manager saying, or scientist saying, real freedom is when the arts are independent from institutional fundings, when artists are really independent and can decide what they publish, what they express, what they create, because they are not connected with money from funding programs or certain institutions. So very difficult to decide here which is the more convincing concept, but for me it was important, first of all, to present these, very in general, these two big lines. And when we look now on our topic, then we can observe since, let's say, 15 years, 20 years perhaps, a huge paradigm shift in the arts. And I found a quotation by Bernd Fesel. He has a website with the title Bridging Creativity and Economy. And in this quotation, you find actually one of the main ideas of the so-called creative industries. He says here, bringing together creativity and culture on the one side, as well as economy on the other side, the non-formal and the formal, the unexpected and the serially expected. This has been my passion from the very start, inspired by my learnings in university years of philosopher Hans-Georg Gadamer to go beyond the methodology of dualism. So this is one of the big ideas, that we don't have to decide any longer, do we feel more connected to this concept of the independent artist who is not interested in, or not strongly interested in, economic developments? Or do we look in the other direction where we say, okay, we believe that an artist must be in a way also a businessman, like the painters in the Renaissance time, who had to look for commissions, who had to look for new partners, who had to look for new strategies to gain money. And therefore, it's perhaps very interesting to define for a short moment or what this term creativity and creativeness actually means. And perhaps it is helpful first to take a look on the view on the word itself. And this is very interesting. When we look on this word creative, in German kreativ, then we can observe that it comes from the Latin origin meaning creare or crescere. And this means making something new out of existing things. And it has also the meaning of growing, of developing, of let something grow, let something extend. Yeah? And on the other hand, we have another term, which is very difficult to translate into English. I chose here the word fertile. In German, we have here the word schöpferisch. That means to inventing something completely new and reveal a new side on things. And this is a huge difference. So that means that when we speak about the term creativity in this context here, then we can see that this focus on let things grow and let's focus on a result is a very, very important term when we look on creative industries. Then I choose for you here the definition of the UK, published by the British Council, because the United Kingdom was one of the first countries which invested a lot of money into this field. And this definition here says, and I think it's very familiar for you all, but perhaps helpful to look one more time on it, the UK's definition of the creative industries: those industries that are based on individual creativity, skill and talent with the potential to create wealth and jobs through developing intellectual property. So we see here that creativity has a very clear goal. And this field includes 13 sectors: advertising, architecture, the art and antiquities market, crafts, design, designer, fashion, film, interactive leisure software, music, the performing arts, publishing software, and television and radio. And it's very interesting when you go on the website of the creative industries in Austria, then they also count the zoo to the creative industries. Yeah, it was never clear for me why this zoo was part of it, and what is the creative aspect of a zoo, but perhaps they have an explanation. So also this part is mentioned in Austria as an important factor of the creative industries. Very interesting here is when you look on the last sentence of this quotation: the interface between creativity, culture, economics, and technology has, as expressed in the ability to create and circulate intellectual capital with the potential to generate income, jobs, and export earnings, while at the same time promoting social inclusion and cultural diversity. That sounds like a huge picture, yeah, and I cannot, for me personal, it's not convincing just to mention it, how it, or I cannot see really the work, how it should, or the way how it can be worked, because I know only some very, very rare projects where we can observe that there are jobs generated and export earnings are to observe, and at the same time social inclusion and cultural diversity is in a real way established. So I personally know just some very rare projects, but perhaps later in the discussion you can mention if you know better examples here. So what we can see is that the creative industries, first of all, and this is the difference to the term cultural industries from the years before, this is a political term. And in almost every Western country, we can see that the creative industries are supported not by private initiatives or not supported by the artists. These economic fields are supported by the governments. It is a huge political decision, and not only on a national level, on an international level, to support this field. And on the one hand, this is very positive because it shows that the politicians understand now how important artists and creative people are, what they can create, what they can bring, or what kind of power they can bring to the society. And this is a very positive aspect. On the other hand, is this recognition followed by this idea, okay, they're so smart, they're so, let's say, wonderful. How can we push them a bit that they work in a way that it is not only artistically successful, but also economically? And there is a typical political thinking behind, that you can push people into a certain direction, and then you can see money at the end. And perhaps it sounds a bit banal, but at the end of the day is the idea, of course, to enable people and to enable artists to to create projects which are not only interesting on an aesthetical level or on an arts level, they are also, or shall be also, interesting on an economic level. And here I tried to write down another definition, because the Germans are very famous for criticizing all the time new developments without saying how one could see it better or in another way. So I tried to formulate here another definition, which perhaps help us to find the positive aspects of the creative industries in another way. So let me read it for you one more time here. Creative industries use the term creativity to broaden the networks between artists and participants of new businesses, with the aim to establish new economic structures which develop an alternative system of values like artistic satisfaction, economic success, and alternative funding concepts. And I want to stress the last point, because you know that in the arts management, very highly discussed at the moment is this crowdfunding system and social media and so on. And that's surely true when we look on already successful artists or people who are, let's say, doing something which is in fashion. Yeah, like when a new band comes up here in Berlin and there is a certain kind of rumor that they are very new and interesting, then it can help to work with social media and so on. When, let's say here in Kreuzberg, where we are, a painter which is 40 years old and is painting since 20 years here in the area, and he cannot expect to become famous, perhaps when he has a new exhibition and he would trust into crowdfunding, or he would trust in the social media just by putting it on Facebook, or just by giving some information about the exhibition, I would think it will not lead to 200 or 300 people quickly coming now to his exhibition. But what we can see is that people who were not successful, especially in the field of culture and the artistic field, and who later have success, they can understand very well the situation of their colleagues and of a new generation of artists. And so I would say that one of the very big possibilities of the creative industries are to connect people within the artistic scenery. That means, and we can really observe it here in Berlin very often, even with our student projects, that we very often receive money from artists or businesses which are connected with the creative industries, which are now successful, and they know how important it is that you have a push at the beginning, and that you give freedom to people, and that you support them. So alternative funding concepts can be found, in my opinion, very often within the circles of people who share the same artistic biography with others, or who went already through this process. So this is very important here to connect the new starters, not only the new starters, also older people and older artists which have no chance to get the normal fundings with these new businesses. So let's now look on, as Radmila has said at the beginning, that we want to use as a case study this new program of the European Union, Europe 2014 and to 2020, because this is a very good example to make clear that we have here this big paradigm shift, and that the European Union decided to go in a completely new way in concerning the understanding of culture. You know that in the former programs, it was very, very difficult for, let's say, a painter or writer or even a small association to get the money from the European Union, because the applications were very, very complicated. Yeah, so you had to write down a lot of things, and you had to organize a lot of papers and cooperation partners to receive money within this program, for example, in the program Europe 2007-2014. And very often artists were frustrated because they said, we spent so much time to send the application and to organize everything, and in the end we didn't see the money, or we didn't see any support. And that was one of the big critical points. Many people from the cultural scene wrote to Brussels that they gave the money just to a few. There was one point, and it was true, I think. Another point was that it was not always so clear what they actually support. So they had terms like mobility or flexibility or intercultural communication or sustainability. These are important terms, but they are not very concrete. And so it was difficult for people who are not familiar with the sound of the European Union and with this background of the cultural experts in Brussels to understand what is actually the focus. And therefore, it was also difficult very often for the people who work as consultants for these programs to explain what has the potential to get funding. And so they changed here a lot. And this is something very positive, that they want to give now the money to more people, to more artists. So one important point will be that they invest a lot of money into translations of foreign books, for example, and they will support more film and music, film projects and arts projects. And so they want to spread the money. This is one important new point of this program. The other one is that they concepts have to prove in a way that they can be economically successful, and this is the problematic aspect. Yeah, that they don't say it very clear, so it is a bit hidden. So just to prove it, I brought to you here an original quotation from the European Union about the cultural new program. And here they say about, when you look in the middle on this underlined or this word weaknesses, and when you start with this sentence, there you can find a reflection about the former program. And here they are saying the culture program has also demonstrated, so the former now program, that culture program has also demonstrated weaknesses that need to be corrected. The next program will therefore have to be bold, aligned with the overall strategy launched by the European Agenda for Culture and embedded in the overall vision of sustainable and inclusive growth outlined by the European 2020 strategy. And here you can see when the word growth, yeah, that remembers us on the first definition of creativity. It means these projects they are interested in shall have an output and an outcome. And you can imagine how difficult it is. I know it from a lot of friends and good colleagues here in Berlin from the art scenery. For example, a good friend of me is a great dancer, yeah, and she says, how can I prove in an application that my dance project will be sustainable? What kind of money can I expect? It's a very innovative kind of dancing. So we have an average, so 100 people or 50 people, sometimes 30 people seeing the performance. But it's very interesting, of course, what she's doing, like hundreds of other artists as well. And now they are forced to prove what is the result. One option is now to see this very negatively and to think, oh, there is a strong economic dominance and that will destroy culture. That is one option, but it doesn't help. So my idea is always to look how we can deal with such a situation in a positive way. And I think this is a very important competence for artists to describe their special outcome and result with their own terms and not with the terms of economy. And here I see cultural managers in a very, very important role as moderators. And this is my criticism against many university programs we have, that we try in the field of arts management to transfer the known arguments of profit and of this logic of profit or of this economical background into the field of culture. We should learn to say, okay, you want to hear something about an outcome and a result and a profit, and we can describe this profit. We can describe our kind of sustainability, but we should find these explanations out of the field of the arts and not out of the field of economy. And so we can see, for example, when we look on a festival like the Steirische Herbst in Austria. It's in Graz, and this I would say a very conservative place there in Austria, yeah. And it's not so big, but the Steirische Herbst is today one of the international, really innovative and fascinating and important art festivals. And the successes that they understand to explain to the locals and to the international audiences their concept. And they have, when you look on the website or when you go also in Austria, we have this Klangspuren festival, also very interesting. Then you can see that they are able to explain what are their results, what they want to reach. So for example, to develop an understanding for sounds for young people, or to develop an aesthetical approach to things for an older generation, and so on. It's very, very interesting. And I think when cultural managers learn to use other explanations than this known concept of explanations from the field of the economy, then they can deal with these expectations by such a program in a completely different way. So,
Okay.
please.
I would just like to tell you that maybe you will have another maybe 5 minutes or something, so that we can have some time.
So let me finish with some concrete examples. So another important point is that we can check out that we have in countries like New Zealand, Austria, Germany, almost the same texts on the sides of the creative industry. So this is also a lack of diversity we can observe here, and also a problem, but it's another topic. So let me finish with the perhaps for you most interesting question: what could that be? An innovative arts management, and how can we what can we observe, how this relation between industries and creativity, what are good solutions here? Yeah, so alternative options are, so in my not opinion, but based on what is my research and what I can prove with examples. First point is to protect creativity, not to look for ideas which promise perhaps to bring money. Instead of, well, it's very important to protect creativity and to make clear for artists that they should not look with one eye to the bank or to the money when they develop their ideas. But what you can do, and this is more important for cultural managers, developing more professional businesses around artistic events. Very banal things like catering or green measurements. So I have brought for you just an example here. We had, I think it wasn't this summer, this green festival, and it was very successful. It was in a small village in Brandenburg outside Berlin. And you can check out on the website www.greenvillefestival.com, and a rock festival. But they made a lot of marketing with their green concept, so that they protect the environment, and that they use a new catering concept, and that they had a new concept for the for energy and how the energy is used and so on. And it was one of the reasons why many people went there. And normally one would say it has nothing to do with the music. No, but it's a very important marketing tool, I guess. So, and it's interesting to see how they stress, on the one hand, alternative rock or a quality of music, on the other hand, a quality of organizational aspects like this green measurements. Then using new spaces. Here in Berlin, very important that the operas are in the metro station or at the baseball or basketball courts in Neukölln and so on. And artists receive money not only by the European Union or by this traditional funding programs. They can get money also by local governments, because they can say, and they do it, we support the city life, we support social inclusion, we support integration. So this is also, I think, a very important point, using new spaces and finding the money. And finding new partners, for example, in the games industry, because we know that very often now when a new opera is published, or let's say performed, then sometimes for children, for example, they offer also a game which is created by a company from the game industry. Then, as I said before, an intensive studying of successful role models like the Steirische Herbst or Klangspuren Festival. And this means that this is possible, delivering and sharing knowledge of case studies in English. For the next book at the Transcript Verlag about European arts management, I discussed with the arts manager Michael Schindhelm, a very international expert, and he said this is one of the problems of many countries in Europe, that they don't deliver their knowledge in English, or just in a very brief and short English. So, for example, when they look for corporations in Asia and Brazil and Japan and China with Europe, then they look for English, for English case studies. And if you look and check out the websites, especially of little local programs or from the subcultural scene, which are very interesting, and we have something to offer here, it is very often not in a proper English. Then, of course, a stronger participation of the so-called minority groups. Also, we can see here in Berlin, for example, with the Roma theater, or with a stronger participation of the Turkish community, that we can receive support not only by cultural foundations, but also by social foundations or by institutions which are dealing with social topics. Then, for me, very much important is also to involve more current political and social discourses within planning processes. So, for example, I was just in Greece, and there young people ask me, why shall I buy a ticket for a theater, or why shall I buy a ticket for a museum? What has this to do with my current situation? And of course, here in Germany and in other countries, we don't have this political problematic, but we have different ones. And I think very often it is important that we reflect in a more broader way how artistic offers are connected with the current social and political processes to create a stronger connection between people. So now I have to finish. So let me just show you at the end 3 examples which I find very convincing. Here, for example, is a theater play supported by the Onassis Cultural Center in Athens, which was dealing with the current crisis in Athens. And we have a lot of examples more for cultural initiatives which are asking for money by international foundations to open the space for people and to break the barriers down. That means that they can let them in for a very small entrance fee or for nothing. This is at the moment also very important that we describe applicate, or that we write down in applications projects which are supporting artistic and social and political discourses. Then I mentioned already the Steirische Herbst. This is a famous example for how to use space in a new way. This is this theater play by Rimini Protokolle called Kutta in a Box, where the visitors of the theater were not coming to a theater house. They received a mobile phone, and then they went through the city of Berlin and Munich, guided by a call center agent in Calcutta, and so they could discover their own living space in a new way. And of course, for Dutch projects, you can ask for money in a huge variety of institutions. And also, a last example for this, using the spaces, the underwater opera in the year 2011, which was using the public pool of Neukölln, a very social problematic area, especially in the night in Berlin, and it made clear that even such a space can be a good space for arts. And at last, my last example is the Media Electronics Center, also located in Athens. Very, very interesting. So I can only recommend to check out the website. They don't get any money by the state, and they don't get any money by international funding programs, and not by the European Union, although they would. So, and these are a collective of artists who believe that, especially now in the crisis, they should share their offers between. So, for example, there are composers involved, and very often they use studio, tone studio in Athens, and the owner of the tone studio can live for a while at the farmhouse of one of the composers, in the countryside. Yeah, though they share knowledge, they share their talents, and they say we don't want to have support. Especially now in the crisis, we want to show that we as artists have something to offer, which is strong enough to survive. And this is, I think, a very impressive concept. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for a lot of impulse and inputs in your presentation. And there are actually a couple of questions. I only wanted to remark to your last example. It seems that on the example of this Media Electronics Center in Athens, that solidarity and sharing without any kind of commercial exchange between any sides is the most subversive element nowadays. It's the most subversive act. So, you know, like if you don't have any kind of profit from what you're doing, it seems that that is the most subversive thing you can do. But okay, I will now maybe give, let's say, tone through me to the participants, and I will read some questions. which are in the meantime, I think, not anymore chronologically ordered here in my list. So I will start with questions by Milica, and she says, from your experience, is Europe really ready for Creative Europe program? And maybe I can add to this question. I mean, this is a good question for both sides, for those who are involved in creative industries or for those who would like to be involved in the creative industries and need this kind of support, but also for those who are really dealing with art and culture in more discursive way, and which will never fit, so to say, in this kind of creative industries approach. And yeah, so, but I will leave you with from your experience, is Europe really ready for Creative Europe?
Yes, I think for some projects that will work, this program, and I think it's very positive that now more people will enjoy the money, yeah, and that more people will get support. But I think I don't expect that really artistic innovations are coming up with this program, because I know from this, for example, from the subcultural scenes or from the dance scene or from the writer scene, from the literature scene, that they never would say we feel us as part of the creative industries. Yeah, so because this is a logic they don't follow. And now what one can say, okay, perhaps it's not so good explained, perhaps it isn't good idea behind this program, but you know that words are, especially in the field of culture, have a very strong power. And I would say with this Creative Europe title, a lot of interesting associations and artists will even not send their application. And this is perhaps something one can predict, that we will see so much, probably really big innovations coming up with this program. But it's just a suggestion. Nobody can look in the future.
Yes, and it is also a question of what is the position from where the new program of European Commission starts, let's say, because as you said, it's rather political thinking, how to maybe switch or how maybe to move the responsibility for certain things which are, for example, employment or job opportunities or sustainability, etc., from the part of from the state or the supranational level to the very actors themselves, because it seems that in the new program and in the creative industries in general, it is the artist or the creative individual who is bearing the responsibility for his own.
But one good point is that now this discussion comes up. This is one very important point, that we now have the opportunity to speak about this problem, because this is the criticism I have very often to my friends who are working as artists or even as arts managers, that they not dare really to speak about this very banal economic problems. Yeah, so in a proper way. Most of the time they say, yeah, it was the wrong project, they don't give money, or the application was too difficult, and so on. But they don't speak actually about the main point, that we have a tradition where it is not allowed, or where it is not very comfortable to speak about the problem that as an artist, that you need money. Yeah, and that we of course have, like in every other business, yeah, fashions, yeah, you know, over a long period of time nobody was interested in the German movie, yeah, and then they started to support the German movies in a way, and it changed the whole market and so on. Yeah, this is very normal for every business. And I think the big chance we have with this new European program is that we can speak without these romantic ideas of the cultural scene more directly about the existing problems.
Okay. Then there is another question, but I'm not sure who posed it. It says you give example of festivals, but they are part of a development of event culture. Is the space for art and culture outside of festivalization and economy? And do you have examples? And I think that actually here in this question, two very important notions are mentioned, and this is event culture and festivalizations. And I think it fits really well in the discussion about the new program and the culture
It's a
industry.
very good point, yeah, because this is also part of the creative industries that they expect to support something what you can see at the end of the day, yeah, what you can see, what you can, a product or even an event is a product, yeah, they can show, they can say, okay, here we did this and this, yeah. When you look, for example, to the field of literature, then it is very common today that when you go to a resident house as a writer in residence, yeah, they expect that you write a blog, yeah, or that you are doing something like we do now, yeah, that you are interactive, yeah, and they will. Actually, one must accept when a writer says, okay, I don't want to speak with anyone, I want to write because this is my profession and the people shall read later my books, yeah. And this is, I would say, yes, a very difficult area, because when you are concentrated on your art or concentrated on reflecting processes or on language, on these very pure things which hasn't changed within the arts, I would say, reflection and thinking and concentration is until today, I think, a core issue of the arts. That doesn't sound very sexy. Yeah, if I would send an application to a funding program and say, I just want to have money to write for 3 months in a silent room, it doesn't sound very innovative. But at the end of the day, perhaps there is something interesting, really interesting and valuable coming up. Yeah. So I would say yes, this is also a problem which Wiebke Stadler mentions here, which is very important, that these kinds of programs force artists to think all the time in connections and in digital or in innovative structures, which perhaps at the end of the day are not really very interesting artistically seen. Yeah.
Then there will be a question by Witte. In some countries in Eastern Europe and some areas in Germany, like Ruhrgebiet, where creative potential is still weak, but where is desire from authorities to push it, what means could be effective in such case? So it is from experience also.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they wouldn't talk so much about this term creativity, and they would more invest money into concrete networks, that would be more helpful. You could see, for example, this was one for me of the very, very impressive and fantastic ideas of the European Capital of Culture, Ruhr 2010, when they gathered all the people on the highway. Yeah, you remember? There was they blocked the highway for one day, I think, and then they invited for a big breakfast people from all the areas of the Ruhrgebiet. Yeah, and they came together, and they could experience something there. Yeah, that they could talk with each other, and it was very normal. It was a breakfast, and it was on the highway, so everyone could understand what it was. So, and
But it's,
you know what I mean? That we have these wonderful offices also in Berlin for the creative industries, and the people working there really good, educated, and really smart and wonderful. Yeah, and I would wish that they could have the money not just to bring people together and to tell them what they can do to gain money from a foundation, or what they, yeah, so that they would have money to create with these artists together concrete projects, something like this we have seen in the European Capital of Culture 2010, because then it would be visible, it would become visible. Yeah, this is important.
So it's basically like experience sharing and exchange and
Right.
knowledge sharing. Okay, and I believe, unfortunately, that this will be our last question, and I cannot believe that it is already half
Okay.
past 6. So, and but the question is good for a concluding, I think, a concluding remark. And this is a question by Wipke. You say a lot of artists do not consider themselves as part of the creative industries. So how helpful is the term, or better, for whom is the term helpful? For artists, politics, or
It's a very good
economy?
question. I would say, first of all, it is a political term. And it is used by people coming from a political background. It was created by people with a political or economical background. Yeah, when you look on the authors, the scientists who are dealing with this term, they're coming most of the time from this background. And on the other hand, it is good that they started this discussion, because we see that in the field of the cultural scenes, we don't have new terms. Yeah, all the artists, or many artists, say we don't belong to this development, and we hate this economical dominance and so on. Yeah, but on the other hand, they don't say what they not hate. So and how they can gather and what they can offer. And this is, I think, the problem, that people to speak about culture and creativity, which most of the time don't have a background, a real background into this field. And here I would say that it is important. I can see it here also in Berlin, where every Lonely Planet tourist guide says now this is the capital of creativity. This is one of the main capital of the arts. On the other hand, and the politicians and the tourist offices use this term. On the other hand, we see that they close the Tacheles, the alternative scenes, that the rents are rising up and so on. Yeah, so it's just a fake. And this is what makes me sometimes a bit angry or astonished, that from the cultural scene comes, of course, a lot of protest and anger, but not a new concept. Nothing where they would say, okay, we refuse, we deny to speak about creative industries, but we offer something new. We offer something different. And this is also the problem in the arts management, that we have perhaps, or we need here, own terms, new terms, which can be more convincing. This would be my wish, that we are not just criticizing this very powerful thing. Oops. Yeah.
Okay, then. Okay, so then, since we are out of time, I would close this official, so to say, discussion. Maybe if you would like, and if you have some time, I would like you to stay another 10 minutes. Maybe there will be some other question, like some other comment. But auf jeden Fall, as the Germans would say, I would really thank you.
Yeah, let me just tell something, because this is for me very important. So who is interested here in the participants, then I want to inform you that we have next year summer school in Greece about this question: do we need new cultural identities, strategies of cultural management for representation and cooperation of art institutions and artists across Europe? Last year we had the Media Electronic Center artists there, so it is really a place where we can share this discussion on a European level in this country. And it's not advertisement. It's for me also important to say that exactly now we should support this country. So perhaps it's interesting to you.
Okay, thank you. But maybe if you would give the link to us, Wipke will share it with
Great. So you find it here in the middle of the slide.
Ah, okay. Aha. The Epidavros Greece Summer School. Okay, right. And Wipke is also sharing some other links mentioned in the discussion. So anyway, I would really like to thank you, Mr. Wolfram, and also I would like to encourage all the participants to get in contact with us, who can then maybe get in contact with you if they need any further information. And I would also like to thank Vipke and Vite for co-moderating, and of course all the active, all the participants which have been very active today. I would like to just remind everybody that there will be a recording at the website, and there will be your PowerPoint presentation also at the website. And I would also like to inform you and everybody else and all the participants that the next talk, the KumaTalk 4, will take place in October, and the new broad topic will be digital art education or digital art mediation. And as you can see here in this list of links, there is a link to Three-Sider, which will enable you to choose between 3 topics which we now put in Three-Sider, and like subtopics, and these are tools and systems for digital art education, structures and players, or usage and perspectives, and of course to ask you also to add further topics, further possible topics within the broader topic of digital art education, so that we can set the new topic for the talk 4. It is the same process that we used for our discussion today when we were deciding upon our topic for today, and I would then maybe close the session, but as I was saying, if there is another comment or question, we can still hang around, so to say, unofficially in the Adobe Connect for a couple of minutes more. Okay. Maybe Mr. Wolfram, you have also some comments on or some questions for for our participants, because as you already said at the beginning, they are more or less all professionals in the field, and so the questions they were posing were also coming from their experience, so to say. So if you also maybe want to comment something, you can.
Yeah, as I said, it was really good questions. So I liked it very much, and I think all the participants agree in many points, because I heard that there is this critical background very available. Perhaps for next time, it would be also interesting to have a counterpart, yeah, which is more promoting the positive aspects of the creative industries. There are surely a lot of more, but you can see it scientifically, and there's something I didn't set in the discussion, that, for example, when you look on the book of Richard Florida about the rise of the creative class, there he said that for him, it is very important to make clear that with this rise of this creative class, also people can be successful artistically, economically, and so on, who are not well educated. So for him, creativity is also one key to break the social barriers of the society. This was a very charming idea and very fascinating, but at the end of the day, you see the people who are successful for example, in the game industry or in these areas where the creative industry makes a lot of money. Yeah, they are very often well educated, or suddenly when they have success, a bigger company comes and buy them. Yeah, so at the end, this is a romantic dream. Yeah, by Richard Florida, it's not the truth that the creative industries help uneducated people or people who are not so common with this rules of the society. It can be suddenly successful. This is a romantic idea, I think.
Yeah, and I find it also, when you say romantic, I think that maybe even this term that you already also mentioned, and we can find it also around of bridging of economy and culture, or economy of creativity, is also maybe utopian or not, but it brings us to the very basic question, and that is, what is the role of art and culture and creativity in the society? Because when we use terms such as profit, or maybe not profit, it's really clear, but let's say development or sustainability or growth, it is really interesting to go back to the question of what the role of creativity and culture is,
That's
especially when we talk.
This is for me actually the most important point you mentioned now. Yeah, we should have done it in the conversation, because this is for me the simple and very convincing way of saying this is a kind of language we use here, which doesn't belong to the arts. It is cold. It is very abstract. It is very, let's say, not very movable. Yeah, and it is this logic of a market person. And it's okay for a market, but when we speak about the arts and we speak about complexity and about these interesting things of life between the lines, yeah, and of course you cannot picture with these words something very complex.
Yeah, and something discursive, or yes, okay. Then now we will really say thank you very much, and we will stay maybe in chat just a couple of minutes, but I think that we have ended
Radmila, very thank you to you. You did a great job. It was very comfortable to talk with you. Really nice.
Okay, thanks, and I really hope we will meet again, maybe online or not, but there will be another topic to discuss.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, and thanks to all the participants and to the co-moderators.
Okay, thank you to you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So.
Okay, I stopped.
Okay. We have also now Radmila to leave the house here, because we're in the university and we have a very strict boss saying actually at 5:30 everything has to be closed here.
Okay, sure. Just I mean, to leave the online space, you can just close the window and
okay.
Gone.
So
okay. Thanks.
Big thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
We will see you. Ciao. Ciao.
So.
Yeah.